Hello everyone, this is Ian Schaefer here with UDA Technologies, and we are just about ready to start taking a look at some of the new project tracking features available through ConstructionOnline. Now as always, we've got a lot of people joining us today, which I love to see. Super excited to talk about some of these great new features that we have going for you guys today. And as we do take a look through these projects, I hope and expect a lot of questions to come through from you guys. As such, we're going to take a couple of minutes to make sure that everybody's able to get signed into the webinar itself. During that time, if you guys would, take a look at the GoToWebinar panel. There should be an area on there marked questions. So as always, if you guys don't mind, just take a moment or two to go to the questions panel and tell us a little bit about yourselves, your company, what kind of construction you guys do, and of course, the all-important, tell us what you guys hope to see in the webinar today. We're going to be showing off a lot of the new features for ConstructionOnline with the new navigation coming right around the corner. And along those lines, we're going to be focusing today on a lot of the project management, project tracking, and communication tools. So a lot of the content that's going to be coming from the field. And if you have questions about what your field guys are going to be working on, send them to us now. And we'll dive into the webinar here in just a couple of minutes. Again, we're going to pause for just a moment as we do this, and we'll be back with you guys in just a couple of moments. Hello again, everyone. Thanks for your patience in getting started. Once again, my name is Ian Schaefer, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Jordan Davis. He's one of our top sales consultants, and he's going to be walking us through some of these features as well today, kind of sharing our experiences so far. We'll also have Sydney Dorsey, manning the questions panel again. She's been doing an incredible job so far, and hopefully we can continue that process again today. So she's going to be fielding most of your guys' questions as we go through this. And again, today our focus is going to be on project tracking and communication. So, of course, this is the fourth and final webinar in our ConstructionOnline new interface kind of expose. This process that we're going through and kind of showing off some of these new features and some of the work that we've been doing for the past several months. And along those lines, Jordan, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about the reception so far? This, again, fourth webinar. We've already had probably thousands of people signed up for this to take a look at it. What are we hearing from current clients, from new clients, from staff members, some of our coworkers? How's it looking so far?
It's been a great experience coming right out of these webinars and maybe jumping on the phone, especially if someone is called in, and recognizing the name, the company immediately, and having a nice chat there. I have no idea what it feels like to be a celebrity, but this little taste has been kind of fun so far. Thanks everyone for the positive feedback. Everyone is so excited. I had a gentleman yesterday basically tell me that he needed the new navigation yesterday because his life would be so much easier once he was able to jump in. It really is a thing of beauty. Our team is killing it. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, and we are very excited with all the progress that we've been making, and we can't wait to make this stuff available to you guys too. As always, as we're going through this process today and we're taking a look at all these new features, don't forget to chime in. If you guys are interested in taking a little bit of an early look, we are looking for clients to sign up for and use this program as an early access or a beta program. So we're looking for people who are not just experienced with ConstructionOnline or with ConstructionSuite, but also people who are new to the program. Don't forget to mention something about that in the questions panel if you guys are interested in signing up for that program as well. We may reach out to you soon in an effort to get some feedback. But all that aside, let's go ahead and dive in today and take a look at some of the content that we're working with. Now, of course, most of the features and the functions that we're actually going to be looking through today are going to be a lot of the field-based tools or the communication tools or the outreach tools. And as a result, a lot of the information is also going to be available in mobile app form. And Jordan, of course, will kind of talk us through some of the features that we'll be able to use from the app. We'll, as I'm taking you guys through some of the web-based features, we'll chime in with how interactive this piece is going to be, where you're going to be able to put the information in, how you're going to be able to work with it, and so on. Now, along those lines, again, our focus today is project tracking and communication. And as we're looking through this, I've pulled up the new ConstructionOnline navigation. Most of the work that we're going to be doing today is here, so we won't have to compare too much to the classic view for ConstructionOnline, which is good. Let's close out of this extra page. But as we're taking a look through, I've also pulled up the Canberra residence, and we've added a little bit of content for communication for the work that we're doing. Now, of course, as you're looking at the projects in new Construction Online, you'll notice over on the left-hand side that we still have all the tools like a company overview and a company calendar, lead tracking, contacts, files, and then our list of projects. Once again, quick reminder in this case, you are able to right-click on projects in the new navigation and select some to add in as favorites, or in this case, if you right-click on one of your existing favorites, you can remove it or archive it from here. You'll also be able to expand out all of your project groups and drag and drop them between various different project types or project groupings that you guys may create here. Now again, this is all really important because as you guys working your way through this, you're going to be organizing all the information so that we can kind of walk through it a little bit faster. As you organize this information and as you share it with your project managers or site supervisors or whoever it is, they're going to get a simplified list, a filtered down group of jobs that they're going to be paying attention to a little bit more. Now, of course, when you click on one of these projects, as before, it takes you into the overview for the project. The overview, once you get everything organized and start to set everything up, gives you some project details. I've got a little snapshot of what we hope the completed house looks like. We've got some address information. We've got the weather tracking turned on. And as you can see, here in Auburn, Alabama, it's a bright, sunny day, 61 degrees. This is all coming directly from and forecasting from NOAA, which is... It's our local weather service for different countries. Since we've got clients in 75 to 80 different countries in here, we're going to be pulling from a lot of your local weather stations as well. The United States has mostly NOAA. You guys might have somewhere else. Australia, I know they've got a weather service that we can tie into. The UK has a different weather service. For most of the rest of the world, we'll usually find one really close to your area, be it a local large city or something like that. But again, it all pulls in. Weather tracking is going to be turned on. This feeds into a lot of the tracking system for the software as well, so that as you're working through these jobs, you may notice that bad weather creates delays. Bad weather is going to get recorded, and you'll have a history of that so that you can kind of explain some of these tools and work with it from there too. Now, in addition, we have latest project activity on this screen, and this is where you're going to see a lot of the communication that's happening back and forth between myself and my team as we're working through this project. This is my account that we're logged into. This is Ian Schaefer at SchaeferBrothers.com or Schaefer Brothers Construction. And so a lot of this content has been created by me, shared with other people as they respond. I'll see those responses popping up here in the list as well. Now, along those lines, to build the team, of course, there's the team option up here at the top. When you're looking at the team option, you've got your company users, you've got all the subcontractors and TeamLink members, you've got customers or ClientLink members, and then just your general run-of-the-mill contributors to these projects as basic contacts here as well. All of this is going to be available on the Team tab for your project, and if you need to add more members, you can just click on the little plus icon underneath the type of contact you're adding, and they'll be able to get into and communicate with a lot of this information as well. Now, along those lines, today we're going to start with project tracking. So when we come over to the project tracking tab, there's 4 key components to tracking all of the content for the jobs. Now, of course, the first one that we have in there is daily logging. This is your project logging feature through the mobile app. I believe it's also called project logging or daily logs. And as you're looking through this, you'll notice that the daily logging feature has 2 primary views. We have a day view where you're going to be putting in the information itself, and the month view where you can review what has been added into everything that we're working with. On the day view itself, we've got, once again, all the weather information coming through. You'll be able to track this, and it's automatically feeding into the logging feature here in Construction Online. And beneath the weather tracking portion, you'll see a collection of different type of log entries that we're going to be using throughout the course of the job itself. Now, of course, in this case, we have the all-important work log. I find that one of the easiest way to kind of lose track of your projects is to not pay too much attention to what's happening on the job itself. Work logs help you do that. You guys in the field can be putting in their work log entries directly, and it's as simple as just going into and choosing the resource for this particular log entry. Did they show up? How many guys did they bring? Hours? What type of resource is it? And then just a brief description of this. Along those lines with the daily logging feature, you've got some additional options in here for equipment, materials, project notes, weather tracking, or again, weather delays that you might have to put in, visitor logs, delivery logs. It's all here. And what makes this a little bit fresher than the classic view for Construction Online is this is almost identical to the options that your team are going to be looking for as they're working through the apps themselves. Now, along those lines too, I see you've got your iPhone out for this and you've got the app open. Tell me, how is the logging feature in here compared to online? And how often do you think, Jordan, that these features are going to be used by our clients, like lead carpenters or site supervisors or what have you? What are we looking at so far?
The daily logging feature in the app is pretty much a one-to-one mobile optimized view of this page right here. In fact, if you have the Construction Online mobile app on your device, you can take a look yourself. We can jump in and post any one of these job types, fill in the details for the job, and then post it right there from the field. Interestingly, it's a lot easier to take a picture and then upload it on the phone than it would be perhaps to bring your pictures back from the field and upload it. That's a fantastically useful feature that I think people should be taking advantage of. Now, the second part of the question you asked was about the frequency. I think that what you mentioned earlier, the daily resolution, is the right resolution to approach this at. Keeping up with your jobs on a daily basis, maybe not obsessing over everything, but getting a good idea of what's happening out there is a really, really solid way of approaching that, I think.
Yeah, and it's actually funny that you should say that too, because I know that I've shared this with a lot of you in the audience. I know we've had the talk about project logging and how often I feel people should be entering in their information. I also love to share one of our clients' perspectives on logging as well. He's a huge advocate of plenty of log entries. I think his phrase is, or his saying is, that he requires 10,000 words a week from his team. 10,000 words. It seems absurd, but then of course a picture is worth 1,000 words, so he'll take 10 pictures through the logs. And it's really easy to do. Super easy. In fact, all you have to do from the app is just click the attachments, click add a photo, take the picture, and it's right there. When you're working on the web itself, you can add a photo just by clicking add photo or file, and either pick one of the options to pull the photo from your computer, or in my case, I'm just going to drag one of these files directly from the desktop, drop it into the little space provided, and it'll upload and attach it for me to the log entry. From there, we can just post it, and we're all set. Super easy to get the content in here. Can be, again, attached to just about anything. If we've got equipment that we're going to be using, we can annotate anything that we need to for that. Materials, deliveries is a big part. You can take a picture of the delivery invoice and attach that to the log entry as well. Or if you have something like custom notes that you need to put in there, you can be a little bit more descriptive as you're putting this information in. And for like photos or files for custom delays, you could always put in like a snapshot of the job site and how it looks. So if there is a delay, let's say you happen to be in the state of Alabama and we get snow for the first time in so many years, you could actually take a picture of the job site and say, yeah, couldn't get any guys out here. We don't have any way to work in this tiny little bit of snow. But it's all possible. You can just add it in there, wrap it all up, and all of this information then becomes entered. You can enter it in from the app on the phone. You can enter it in directly to the web page. You can enter it in through a laptop or a Surface or a tablet. It's all going to be excellent options to get this content in there. And the more information you get in there, obviously, the more secured you're going to be. The safer you guys are as a whole, because you can track your progress through the job. Now, along those lines too, things will come up over the course of the job. Things that might be a little different than typical scheduled tasks, but things that we need to remember anyway. For a lot of those one-off events, you'll be able to come to the to-do list and enter these additional tasks, these additional options, or whatever it might be, and assign them out to anybody that you may need to include on this. As you're working your way through the to-do list, adding in new tasks can once again be done either from the app or directly on the web page itself. Just come into and click Add New To Do, and you'll be able to pull the content in here. Now, again, most of this information is going to become pretty broad. The beauty of having to-dos is they have deadlines that you can create, or due dates as we put them in. You can prioritize them and anything like that, but they can always be done ahead of time, and when you do complete them, of course, these tasks can be checked off. Now again, how does this differ from our existing interface or the Construction Online Classic view? Well, the big thing for me on this page is the right-click menu. From here, you can actually just right-click on one of these tasks and edit the task, or you can attach files to it or set a reminder for the task. For those of you who are working through it, you can also just right-click and delete any of these tasks that don't belong. And again, right-click menu is huge. All of this information is going to be available as you guys work through or walk through some of these tasks. And as you're working with the right-click menu itself, everything is here. You can also click on the tasks, and you'll notice that there's going to be little options over here, little menus for actions that you want to get into. A lot of the same as you might find in the right-click menu. For the to-do list group as a whole, there's also going to be a way of collecting all this information and once again, reporting off of it, or maybe hiding the completed tasks or showing the incomplete tasks. You've got these options up at the top to help sort through those as well. As you navigate through your list, these options help you really hone in on the information that you need to focus on and again, put those notes together from here. Now, of course, there's a little bit of a structural difference here with to-dos, the one-off tasks. Little things that you guys might need to create or send out or update or whatever it might be. If you're doing large groups or lists, if you will, then we're going to go take a look at the punch lists feature next. Now again, with punch lists, there is a wide variety of resources and ways to utilize this punch list function or feature that makes it easily accessible or more structured than some of the content that you guys might be working with on Construction Online's standard collection of sets. Okay? But again, as you're working your way through the punch list feature itself, you'll still see all the tasks coming through. And once again, as you're looking back at the project as a whole, all of these to-do list items will show up. They'll all become available here on this main page. And as you're looking your way through it, you'll see all the punch list items starting to gather together, and all this information is going to become available as you're looking through the project tracking system as well. Once again, with the punch lists, as you guys organize that information, it also becomes available through the mobile app itself. The mobile app is a quick and easy way for your team to be able to pull up one full list of punch list items and just start checking all the things off. You can see their progress. That information comes back to the overview as well. And as you guys are working through this, you'll be able to track completion on those jobs as you go. Now, as you're looking through the information for the project itself, once again, with the log entries, with the to-dos, with the punch list items, with all of this different information, this different content becoming available on the jobs themselves, you'll also need an easy way to report off of all of this. Now for that, we've got the project tracking reports available right here in this section. Again, a little different than the traditional Construction Online or the classic Construction Online view. All the reports on Construction Online Classic are gathered together under a Reports tab, where you can pick and choose any report that you may want to generate, from estimating reports to scheduling reports to logging reports, whatever it might be. Now, each feature set has its own collection of reports that applies, and you get these gorgeous overviews for all the reports. So again, in this case, if we're taking a look through and we need to generate a report for any of the content that we have available in the system itself, all you need to do is come to Project Tracking Reports, click on the report that you guys would like to generate, and it gives you all the detail and the depth and the history and whatever might be included there too. So again, looking through the content, you'll be able to pick all the information, all the parameters for the reports that you're generating. You can even apply company filters, logos, letterheads, whatever else might be included, and filter a report by contact as well, if applicable. Now again, going back to the app question in this case, as our team starts building all of the log entries, for example, in daily logs in the mobile app, all of this information becomes available to me as the administrator. If I decide that I want to share some of this information with my customer, that's where this report comes into play. We go through and we generate the report, maybe filter it down by contact type or whoever it might be. When we create the report, this then becomes available for our customers or for us to go through and work with some of the details. I'm just going to generate a quick log report. There should only be, I have to select a start date. Got that little pop-up message there. So let's just say for the month of March. This is going to be a fairly simple one. I think there might be 2 or 3 entries on the report itself. But as you go through and generate the report, once again, brief note about this. All the information for the logging report is going to be put together in a PDF that can then be shipped out to the customer directly. But don't forget, with the new Construction Online navigation, you guys will be able to go through and edit some of the details, some of the content that's available in here as well. So all this information becomes available, viewable right here. And as you guys are working your way through this content on the projects themselves, you can create reports like this one where you can go through and see. I think I included all days. Yeah, it's an easy option. If we needed to go through and adjust, we certainly could, but you'll see that the weather tracking has been on this whole time. There's one of the posts that we did today. So again, all the information becomes available typically day by day in the reports. When we're done, you can print it, you can share it, you can save it into the project, you can download it, anything you need to do. All of it becomes available online. That's when you guys can start sending it out to all the applicable people from there. Now, let's close this tab and let's talk about communication for a moment. Yeah, it seems a little funny that we're going to talk about communication, but in the communication section, this is really some of the areas where we're tying together all of the detail, all of the content for the jobs. Nothing is more important than communication on a project. It gets people to the right place at the right time. It helps everybody stay on the same page. We're even going to be doing things like on the commercial versions of the program, helping you organize RFIs, submittals, transmittals, and all of the content that typically comes up over the course of the jobs themselves. All of this information becomes available right here, and as you guys are looking through the communication page, you'll notice over on the left-hand side that we've got a lot of those key features from Construction Online Classic that people have been taking advantage of for years. We have project messaging, we have announcements, we've got, again, the commercial content, the RFIs, submittals, transmittals. Here's a fun new toy for you guys as you're working through some of these things. One of the best additions to the new Construction Online navigation involves some of the messaging and announcement features. When you actually open up the messaging feature and create a new conversation, you now have the ability to style all of the information that's going to show up in the emails that you guys are sending out. This is one of the huge new enhancements with Construction Online's new navigation. As you're looking through this, messaging, for example, is one of the features that you're going to be using to trigger or to start email communication. In order to make it look good, you need a signature that you can add into each of these things. You want to be able to go through and like bold or bullet point some of the important parts for these as well. As you're going through and choosing the people that are going to be included on this and putting together your subject line for the conversation, all of the styling happens here in the body. And if you'll remember, it looks a lot like the document editing tools that we looked at just a moment ago with the reports. So again, if you need to bring some important attention to this, style the posts that you guys are making in the conversation section. All of this information gets organized and tidied up and becomes much more presentable when you send it out. Post it, and then you'll end up with conversations not unlike this one that we've got, where we unfortunately had a little bit of a snafu with the shower head for one of the homes that we were building. In this case, we have to go through the selection process again with Alice to pick a new shower head for her master bathroom, and this is an easy way to get the information out there. Now, along those lines too, Jordan, I know you were mentioning one of the features that we are looking forward to introduce here in the new Construction Online navigation. We talked about it, I think, a little bit on Monday, maybe. Tell us a little about the quick chat feature that we're hoping to implement here real soon in Construction Online's new navigation that is already available, though, in mobile apps.
Sure. So the quick chat feature is pretty similar in structure and ease of use as, say, like pulling up and shooting a quick text message, except that the added benefit is that the text message that you would send through a quick chat is going to be available here in the new navigation. So let's say you needed to get a message out quickly to one of your guys out in the field. You could send them a quick text message that vanishes into, cell phone carrier oblivion, or you could send a quick chat that's trackable here in the dashboard and makes it straight to their phone with pretty much the same style of delivery, and they can pull it right up in the app. And maybe they can shoot a quick reply right back to you if they're not in the middle of something that they really need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great point, too. All of the information for the quick chats is going to be organized and stored on your Construction Online account, which means that as you guys are starting these conversations, if you're using a program like Instant Messenger or Slack or something like that, in addition to text messaging, from the phone. All of that information is then collected in various different places, and there's no real join to it or anything like that. It's not connected in any way, shape, or form. This resolves that. All of that information is going to come together, and as we implement more and more in the new navigation for Construction Online, it'll have its home here under communication as well. At least that's where we're planning on putting it. Again, fun little side note to this. Quick Chat also has some non-project specific options as well. As such, you'll also see some of the communication showing up under the company view as well for quick chats. So as you create groups for your chats, all of this information is then going to tie together. If you assign it to a project, great. If you don't assign it to a project, also great. All of that information becomes available here. And brief side note, I don't think I touched on this for the past couple of webinars, but once again, there is a search bar up here at the top. So if you remember some part of a conversation, you don't remember if it was messaging, or if it was quick chat, or if it was one of the other pieces in here, if there was one piece in there where you remember potentially talking about a change order for something somewhere along the lines, you can actually come up to the search feature and search for whatever that might be, and that information gets filtered down so that you can see that particular piece of information right here. This search works with anything that you guys have on the page that you're searching. Works across features and content and everything like that too. So if you search for a key term, then you can switch over from communication back to project tracking and see maybe where the log entry was for the guy that was talking about this, and then back to communication to see if the customer ever replied to your email. Great content, great easy way to go ahead and go through and kind of tag most of this information. And again, as you're going through and you're looking at some of this information, some of the content, you can also, once again, right-click on these options. You can add more people to the conversations for the right-click menu. You can delete conversations, although you're probably never going to want to do that. More importantly, you can archive the old conversations that we need to get out of the way so that they'll show up over on the archive section instead. So much easier, much more intuitive to work with as you guys are kind of working your way through some of the messaging features and the quick chat features. You've got gorgeous ways to stylize this information. You've got easy ways to kind of filter through the content, and you've got really great ways to go through and make sure that everything is documented well so that you can pull it together after the jobs are complete. Now, of course, messaging is all about getting the information out there, receiving responses, and cataloging the detail. If all you need to do is a mass message to everybody, project announcements are a great function to provide this kind of goal. So in this case, as we're finishing up the job itself, I've set an announcement for the project, final walkthrough next Friday. And in this case, as we're finishing up everything, this announcement will go out to everybody available on the job. We have an option to go through and create, again, email notifications to anybody included. Put together something here. We can put together again another message for the announcement itself. We can assign a priority for this, and once again, as these things go out, as you click next, you'll have options to go through and choose who's going to get it. You can announce it, you can announce and skip the emails, or send emails if you like, or in my case, I'm just going to cancel out of this one because it gives you a rough idea of what it looks like. Now, the color coding here for these announcements is based off of your priority. So as you start assigning priority to things, you'll notice that Construction Online is going to start assigning green, yellow, and red colors to most of the work that we're doing. Green, of course, is going to be kind of an easygoing thing. It doesn't require too much attention to it. Yellow, you start to get a little fire under your rear. With the red tasks, you have to pay attention to it. It is a high priority item. It may be a task that's overdue or a collection of to-dos or punch list items that we need to go back to and revisit. There's a lot of things in here that are really important that we need to get taken care of soon. Now again, with project announcements, all of this still shows up on the overview screen. Even better though, when your subcontractors are logging in or your clients are logging into the portals, everybody will make this information available. They'll all be able to see this content as we're putting it together. And once again, if you ever need to add new announcements, the button is right here at the top. Again, couldn't be easier to work with. If somebody didn't get it, again, the right-click menu is here to help out. You can edit these messages or these conversations. You can resend them from here, resend the emails to anybody who's available. Duplicate messages just in case it's the same announcement, or you guys are doing something like, hey, don't forget we're doing a job site meeting on Tuesday, be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Or again, if it's an old message that we don't need to keep track of anymore, then you can always delete them. You have the option, especially if there's typos or anything like that. You might be able to go through and edit or delete, or if you put it in the wrong project, maybe, then we can move them around or something like that. But anything job specific, I highly recommend you keep it in here. Any of that communication is going to be super important, very critical for your clients as you guys are working through this, and you always want to keep a documented job history for these things as well. Now, along those lines, we've talked about the email portion. We've talked briefly about the quick chat function that's going to be making its way in here. We've got announcements as well, call logs too. I find this is most heavily used from the mobile app. The mobile app has a tie-in that's a little bit unique in this case, because as you pull up your contacts and you call from them, you're able to call from the mobile app itself. And as you do so, it pulls up a little bit of information for you guys to go through and catalog the detail for what you guys are working with. So as you're looking at it, it keeps track of the amount of time you spent on the call. It gives you a little place where you can put in notes on the call. It allows you to track some of the detail for the call. And most of that is just going to feed directly into ConstructionOnline. You'll see all that information here. Now, if you didn't catch it or you didn't call through the app, you can always add a call log entry here too. It gives you the space where you can say, who did I call? How long were we there? Or how long was the phone call? What did we talk about? Add attachments. Maybe they had questions about a new product or a new model or something like that. Put all this information in here. Again, full catalog of all the details and the content. It's a great way to keep up with this information if you guys have a terrible memory like I do. And if you get this information into ConstructionOnline, either through the mobile app, through the web page directly, or however you guys have to get it in here, then it all shows up here. It's all reportable and has a full history there as well. Now, of course, for those of you who are using the commercial versions of ConstructionOnline, you guys are going to have 3 additional features that are going to show up here in the communication tab as well. Those 3 features are going to be RFIs, submittals, and transmittals. And I believe at least some of these will show up in the top tier for the residential package as well. So if you guys are looking through this and you click on something like requests for information, you'll see this wonderful dashboard, all the tools and everything like that, to put together your RFIs for these jobs. Now, as you're looking through the RFIs themselves, for those of you guys who don't know, again, RFI stands for Request for Information. And the RFIs are typically going to be things that are put together. Maybe it's a question from one of the subcontractors on the job about something in the plan, something might not make sense. So they ask the question to your site super. The super is going to then post the question or post the information and maybe assign it back to the architect. And it could be something as simple as when you're creating a new RFI, you may go through and say something along the lines of sink is supposed to be on the north wall, or it looks like the sink in the vanity is set for the north wall, but the water main is coming up the south wall, and there's no indication of how we're going to get water over to the sink. What do we do? In that case, you would come into the RFI section, find the person that you're going to be working with as the architect on the job. We're going to go with, again, Ben in this case. Obviously, we're going to have a collection of RFI numbers as we're creating these. You'll have the numbers auto-populating here, or you can always add in your own RFI numbers here. Subject line, water main for bathroom. Who asked the question? In this case, me. Who do we assign to? Again, this one's going to be Ben. So let's go with Ben Willis. There's Ben. Due date, we need to get this done soon because the plumbers are going to be finishing out shortly as well. And so on. Again, fill in the blanks as they're applicable. For the question down here, there doesn't seem to be water hookup for sink in master bath. I guess we could put question mark. But as we go through and put the information in here, again, you can create the RFIs. More importantly, you can create and send emails for these RFIs, or before we send it out, we can always add an attachment for this as well and get it in there. Especially appropriate if we have the drawings in front of us and we wanted to attach the page that we were referencing for this. Makes it a lot easier for the architect to go back through and review that. Maybe we've got an old page, or maybe they touched it up or something like that, so we can always do that as well. Ben will have a fun question about that later. But again, as it comes up, all this information then becomes available in ConstructionOnline. You'll be able to see this or track this and once again search through it. Again, all of it online. When they email their reply, it'll show up in here as well. Or more importantly, they can log into ConstructionOnline, come here and put in or post their response, and if the response takes care of it, then we can flag it as resolved as well. And you'll notice overdue, approved or responded to or closed, still waiting on a response. So we've got all the different options that are going to be available in there, and some of you may also notice that some of these tasks have been pinned to a set of plans in Redline. So if you're working with Redline Plan Room and you've been attaching your RFIs to the pages or to the plans using Plan Room, or Redline rather, all that information is going to be available. You'll see the pins here. If you click on the pin, it'll usually take you into Redline. That feature is currently pending though for the new navigation on Construction Online, so I'm not going to click on it yet. Now, RFIs, request for information. We have a question, we need to send it to somebody to take care of it, put it in, and you'll be able to document and track the process here. With submittals, again, those of you doing commercial projects or large-scale residential projects, or some of you even maybe doing smaller residential projects, you may have those situations where the plans or the specs or the scope calls for this model sync or something similar. So again, the question comes up, what counts as similar? So in this case, we might go out and we might find something that we believe is close enough. And so again, as we're putting together a new submittal, I'm going to say, does this sync count? Now, again, for submittals specifically, you're going to be asking a group of people, typically. Now, that group of people may need to be approving this submittal in order. And if we need them to be approving it in order, then we can set sequential approvers. And in setting the sequential approvers, it's going to go first to my colleague Jordan, then it's going to go out to Sydney. Sydney, if Jordan approves, then Sydney can take a look and she might say, yeah, I like that. And then we could send it off to Ben, who says, no, I hate all of your options. And then it comes back to me and we have to go back through the process again. Or we might skip Ben next time and go straight to the customer who loves everything that we put together for them. And if that's the case, then we'll always have this information available, still cataloged, but with the sequential predecessor, or the sequential approvers, slipping into scheduling mode there, with sequential approvers, you can go through and set it up so that Jordan can reply first, then Sydney, then customer, and then we're good. Now, if you need to just send it out to everybody, and everybody needs to have their voice, and we're all going to talk about it together, and we collaborate, and what have you, you can also set parallel approvers, which just means everybody gets it at the same time, everybody can approve it simultaneously as well, and if we need to strike up a conversation about it, all of that information can happen through the correspondence here, through the submittals process, and we can go from there. Again, the idea here is fill in the blanks. As you fill in the blanks, create and send emails, everybody gets notified, they'll be able to go through and take a look, respond, and work with some of the additional details. You'll also be able to add attachments in here as well. So remember to go through that process. And as you work through it, you'll also be able to track a lot of the content for that here under the response statuses. Now, again, the status is going to be a little different. As you look through and you take a look at each of the submittals that has been created, there are a number of different options for approvals, or maybe rejections. So if we're going through and taking a look at this, we might say that the submittal has been approved as noted. It's a great sync for the master bath. We can't use it anywhere else. It might be reviewed, no exceptions, reviewed with an exception. Maybe we have to go back over it and choose something different, something bigger, something smaller, whatever it might be. So plenty of options. And once somebody does flag it as accepted or approved, you'll be able to track that response process here. Again, this tends to be for filling in a lot of those or something similars. Whenever we have one of those sort of situations where we don't have a specific item that we have to go get, or we're replacing something because maybe they haven't produced it in 30 years, submittals really help. You also want to catalog everything with who approved it so that you can always say everything is according to spec or has been approved by the people designing the project or orchestrating the project or whoever's going to be involved. So again, catalog everything, document everything, and have no outstanding liability so that you guys can move forward with all your next jobs. Comfortable in the fact that you know that you guys are completely covered. Now, along those lines, sometimes you'll also have to submit some things or send out information with a transmittal letter. Along those lines, we have transmittals available in the system as well. As you're going through and creating your transmittals, again, it kind of functions as a bit of a cover letter. Let's hide those categories for a moment and take a look at some of the details here. With the transmittals, of course, these are a little bit different, and as you guys note, most of the information for these is standard for transmittal forms. The reports and all the content and everything like that are going to be available here as well. Most of the transmittals, unlike submittals or RFIs, are designed to be one and done. You send out the information, it's done. The information is sent. We're finished. Move on to the next task. So that's why these tend to be a little bit simpler, a little bit more straightforward, and just have some core details for them. Transmittals, nice and easy. Used to be fax cover letters, but fax isn't really a thing anymore. But when you're creating transmittals, of course, it's the same great process. Everything is nice and easy to work with. If you forget some of the detail and you need to move the information out of the way, hey, great new feature here with new navigation for ConstructionOnline. All these modals that used to be anchored in the middle of the screen are not anymore. Now you can drag them out of the way so that you can remember which transmittals we've already done and what title we're supposed to be using for the next one and whatever it is. All of this information becomes available to you guys here, and if you've got a little bit of a space concern, just move it out of the way, see what's going on, and then you can type it up from there. So you got all that information. It's all still within the web page, by the way. This is all web-based. These are typically things that you would see on a desktop software or something like that, some piece that would have to be installed. But this is all native to the browser in this case. Everything is built in. The right-click menus, which you almost never see, those are a part of ConstructionOnline now. The moving the modals around, dragging and dropping, all of this is embedded with the new navigation for ConstructionOnline. All of it is also going to be available in report form for some of these things: RFIs, transmittals, submittals, work orders, documentation for anything in here. You can also print reports off of the messaging or print off the lists of the messaging or the announcements or anything like that too. Most of those are available through the action menus or the right-click menus for those features, but these ones just kind of organize all the detail together so that you can get like an RFI summary. This just prints off all the documentation that you would need. So again, if the question comes up on a job and you need to get some of those details together, print it off. Generate the report, send it off to the team asking about those RFIs. Or if you guys just like to document everything, keep a paper copy, just because some of us like a paper copy for things. You can have it. Generate the RFI summary report or whichever of these you need to work with. And again, they've got really handy little previews for the document. You can see what you're getting without having to run the report to see what it looks like. But in this case, as we're going through and we're setting it all up, pull the information together so that we're generating the reports. And then again, when you create the report, it pulls up here for you in a PDF format. But again, if you need to make any changes or adjustments, or you forgot to fill in things like a cost impact or a schedule impact, yeah, go ahead and edit the form and you can go into and start making some of these changes. And then you'll be able to save it back into the project as well. And you'll have the RFI summary available on the Canberra residence job. It's added in with some of the other documents that we have in the system itself. Looks like I've got a QuickBooks installation there. But again, all this information just kind of pulls back together again, and it comes in here and becomes available for you guys on all your jobs as well. Now, along those lines too, I believe that's going to be most of the documentation that we have for you on project tracking. So just a quick recap then as we're looking through. I know Sydney has already done an amazing job of trying to keep up with all of your questions. There's a couple of these that she has flagged for me, so if you guys don't mind, I'm going to pause for a moment. And as I'm doing so, Jordan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the features that we've covered today and which ones have that corresponding piece in the mobile app? Because again, we were talking about this earlier, how a lot of this information is going to be done either through the browser or the app. Again, most of the information is going to be probably done from the job site, which means that most of the information is going to require, what, a smartphone, a tablet, laptop? What do you think?
Yeah, I honestly, looking through the list here and keeping up with my phone, the majority of every single thing that I saw was available in the app, which is fantastic for your team out in the field to get this information back to you. And it really cuts down on the time you have to wait to get the critical information you need to keep your business running smoothly and to make decisions.
Yeah, and again, along those lines, since it all is available in mobile app form, and since the app is tied into the accounts that you guys are signing up for and creating, when you guys get signed up for your ConstructionOnline account, pass the app out to your team. Get them using the Construction Online mobile app. Get them in there and logged in and cataloging the details and everything like that. And make sure that you guys are building the history for all of your jobs. Again, those reports that we took a look at are only as good as the information that your guys put in there. And I'm a huge advocate of kind of talking about our accomplishments. Talk about what you've done. You might not be proud of it, but I guarantee your customers are going to be impressed when you do. So just get out there and make sure that they know that you're working for their success. Maybe, I don't know, host a webinar about it or something. But as you guys are going through and talking about all this information, it's really important that you document, you share, and that you communicate well. And along those lines, every piece of the team has to make sure that they're contributing to this process. And that's where these communication tools and project tracking features and functions really play into this. Now, I love some of the new layouts and some of the tools that we've seen in here as well. All of this information, especially with the reports being right there in the feature set, make it insanely intuitive working with the new navigation for Construction Online. So don't forget, we do still need some feedback about how the new navigation is going to work, and we're opening up the beta program for some of our existing Construction Online users here in the very near future. If you guys are interested, don't forget to submit some information about your company, or maybe even just send in a, hey, I'm interested, here's my email address, and we'll go ahead and step through that list and start contacting some potential clients to take a look through this beta process. Now, the official release is still a little ways out, and as I mentioned earlier, there's still a few features that we're looking at adding into the new navigation as well. But as we've gone over for the past 4 webinars in the past week and a half or so, this is a very feature-rich, major new change for Construction Online, and we're super excited about the progress that our team has been making. I think they've been doing an incredible job. And as we get this information out there to you guys to take a look, we want to make sure that you guys feel the same way. So we'll be contacting people to make sure that the program fits everything that we had ever hoped and dreamed, and we're looking for some good feedback, so definitely send it in your way, our way. You send us your information, we'll get you guys on the list if we can. Now, with that said, I believe that's going to wrap up most of the information that we have for you guys today. There were a couple of questions on here too, like we've got somebody looking for project calendars. Does the information from the daily log show up on the same screen? I think that's the nature of the question. If you go and take a look at the calendars section itself, much like the classic view for Construction Online, things like custom weather delays or certain important events from the logging feature do show up on the general calendar. In order to make sure that there's still a good amount of space on the general calendar or the project calendar for major tasks like scheduled events and to-do deadlines and change order deadlines, we also give you the month view for the logging feature where you can see how often your guys are hitting that logging feature here. So when you go to the month view, this is specific to the logging feature, and we've done it this way to make sure that everything still stays well organized so that you can keep a catalog of everything that's happening and make sure that your guys are giving them those 10,000 words a week or whatever it may be. So we've got the calendar for you here for the logging feature. Again, a lot of the critical parts like custom weather delays do show up on the main calendar in addition. Don't forget to put in things like weather impacts on the job. And don't forget, if you do have custom weather delays, you will need to switch back over to the calendars in the schedule, open up that project schedule, and make sure that you guys first set a baseline before you start making changes, and then go through and move those tasks as appropriate or mark as complete when they're done. So again, as you're looking for some of this information, there are definite tie-ins between features in this case, and some we've also created some additional report tools to make sure that you guys have a very streamlined process as you're working through it. So great series of questions there. And like that, if you guys do have follow-up questions or there's anything else that you guys are interested in seeing, don't forget, we will have all of this information available on YouTube. You can always go back and revisit it. So if you guys need to find us, go to YouTube and take a look for UDA Technologies, all one word. And don't forget to subscribe to the page if you guys are interested in seeing this and any future webinars that we make available. We're recording them all, and we're going to make them available for you guys on YouTube so that you can go back to and revisit or share with your team as needed. For everything else, though, once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us for this fourth and final webinar covering project tracking and communication with the new navigation for Construction Online. I'm glad we can have you guys here for this sneak peek at some of these great new features and amazing new tools that we're going to be releasing here in the very near future. And if you guys do have any additional questions or anything else comes up, give us a call, shoot us an email. You can reach us here at 1-800-700-8321, or you can reach us via email at support or info@uda1.com, and just let us know what you think. Give us a call and we'll talk about it then. Otherwise, thanks again for your time, guys. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we'll talk to you again real soon in the next series of webinars that we're doing. I think we still have some TeamLink and ClientLink features that are going to come along with the new navigation. So keep an eye on that e-news. We're going to be talking about that soon. Otherwise, guys, thanks again for your time, and I hope you guys all have an incredible weekend. Take care.